At BBC Earth, we provide reading programs to government and international schools throughout Asia, from Singapore to Malaysia, to the Philippines to Jakarta, to Hong Kong and Macau. Today, I'll be sharing more about the BBC Earth magazine and how we have used this title to cater to the educational needs in the wider Asia market. Before we carry on, let me play you a short trailer. A bit more on our magazine. The BBC Earth magazine is a bi-monthly publication that draws content from 3 different BBC studio publications. They are BBC Science Focus, BBC Wildlife, and BBC History. The BBC Earth magazine is an award-winning magazine. In year 2022, we were named the best magazine title by the Singapore Book Publishers Association, beating out other titles such as Broader's Perspective and Expect Living. You can think of the BBC Earth magazine as similar to your instant 3-in-1 coffee, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with. In the same way that you have your sugar, your creamer, and your coffee powder in one sachet. With BBC Earth magazine, you have your science, history, and nature information combined into one to get your instant knowledge. Here are a few of our issues that have been published over the past year. Our January-February issue, our March-April issue, our May-June issue, one of my favorite issues, Tired All the Time, something we would all find very familiar with, I'm sure. This is our July-August issue, our September-October issue on AI, and finally, our November-December issue. We have our innovations section, where we provide prompt updates on latest technology and unique inventions. A very popular section, especially amongst teenage male readers. We also have our World News Global Perspective section, which we highly encourage students and teachers alike to read. This section provides insight on various current affairs and topics from different parts of the world. This section is broken up into 3 parts: our review, analysis, and comment section. We have our discovery section, which sheds light on more recent scientific discoveries around the world. One unique feature in the BBC Earth magazine is the audio feature, whereby we have 2 articles per magazine, which allow readers to listen to the article while reading along. All you need to do is to scan the QR code and you can hear the article being read out loud to you. This is very useful, especially for those who are keen on improving their listening and audio processing skills. Another feature we have is the Do You Know section, which is given in a question and answer format. You are asked questions like, what will happen if the Earth stops spinning? Why is the green screen green? Do animals hiccup? Here, we are targeting readers who are uncomfortable or intimidated by long-form articles, by getting them hooked and reading shorter paragraphs and gradually building on their reading habits. We also have our brain test section, where we have our crossword puzzle as well as wordplay section. Here, we test readers on their understanding of vocabulary words inside the magazine itself. All the vocabulary words in this section are taken from that very issue. Now we have our popcorn science section, where we take relevant scientific and technology topics and apply it to popular films and television shows. For example, on screen here, you can see we have articles about Batman and Star Wars. This encourages students to read, as it is relevant to things they are interested in and makes reading more enjoyable. Aside from these regular sections, we also have our feature articles, which make up the bulk of the magazine. The feature articles follow the main topics of science, history, and nature. We select and adapt these feature articles to be more suitable and relatable to a wider Asian market. Currently on screen here, we have our Editor-in-Chief, Ms. Cheryl Tay. Unfortunately, she's not able to join us for the talk today. Through this video, she will be sharing her favorite articles from the magazine.
This is about the world's rarest rhino, the world's largest land mammal, the Javan rhino. It's a critically endangered species, only 72 of them left, all concealed within one tropical dense forest on the island of Java, Indonesia. There used to be many more of them across Asia, from India to China. However, wars, habitat loss, and trophy hunting led to their decline. Now, rhinos are being hunted for their horn, which is said to treat things like cancer, snake bite, and even as a cure for hangovers. The good news is there have not been any Javan rhino in captivity for the past 100 years, which makes stories like these so precious. On his first time there, the photojournalist spent weeks in the forest and could not find any of the Javan rhinos. He returned a year later, and this time he did. That's what I love about the magazine. So much goes into each story and each photo. Another article I would like to share about is microplastics. We all know plastics are harmful, but did you know that microplastics are potentially dangerous? What are microplastics? Microplastics are microscopic pieces of plastic debris that cannot be seen with the naked eye. The problem is they're everywhere. Up to 1.5 million microfibers are released per kilo of clothing per wash, and simply opening a plastic packet or plastic bottle can release thousands of microplastics into the atmosphere. Originally perceived as a marine issue and found on the ocean surface, microplastics have now found their way to the most remote of regions, such as the poles, the equator, the deep ocean floor, and even Mount Everest. Humans have also been found to ingest them, as microplastics have been found in our stool. So now the question is, are microplastics harmful? At the moment, there isn't enough evidence to say. However, we should still be cautious and limit our exposure. So avoid using single-use plastics, choose natural-based products over plastic, and let's all do our part to save the Earth. One piece that's close to home is the cover story of the March-April 2022 issue, Home But Not Quite Dry, about otters. Otters have become a national conversation in Singapore. In the 1970s, they were driven away because of pollution and deforestation. But in recent years, otters have returned in full force and made themselves comfortable amongst us. I'm sure you've read about them crossing the roads, dipping in condominium pools, and even eating expensive koi. These wild otters are testament to Singapore's efforts in reforestation and anti-pollution. Similarly, in the UK, otters were driven away in the 1970s because of pollution, habitat loss, and an accumulation of toxic chemicals in the environment. Then 10 years ago, otters returned to every county in England. But they now face serious threats such as river pollution because of contamination of new chemicals. Read more about the English otter situation in this cover story, and I'm sure there are many more articles you'll find interesting in BBC Earth. So grab a copy now.
To complement the BBC Earth content, we have created and designed various materials and programs to supplement student learning and to help teachers in their mission to encourage good reading habits. The materials and lesson plans for these reading programs are created by the BBC Earth magazine editorial team and customized according to each country's needs, syllabus, and reading level. For example, with every issue of the BBC Earth magazine, we have designed a worksheet tailor-made to enrich students in their reading and learning experience. The BBC Earth worksheet comes in 2 levels. The intermediate level is suitable for students aged 10 to 12, and the advanced level suitable for students aged 12 and above. The worksheets are great at providing additional information to students for their English exams, providing more in-depth understanding for their history topics, and giving perspectives that they are not exposed to in the classrooms. It also gives them extra content for their arguments and criticisms, enhance their critical thinking and analytical skills, especially in terms of the reading comprehension, thus encouraging good reading habits. Let me play you a short video on how we use the BBC Earth materials for our reading programs.
Hi everyone, I'm Tyra and I'm the BBC Earth writer and reading programs in charge. Today, I'll be sharing more information on how we have adapted the content of the BBC Earth magazine Asia edition to fit our students' needs through the BBC Earth worksheets as well as our avid reading programs. So I'll start off by describing the intermediate worksheets, which are suitable for students aged 10 to 12. In the intermediate worksheets, we have 3 main sections: the composition writing section, refining your language skills, and strengthening your science understanding. To start off, we will talk about the composition writing section, whereby students are tasked to write a composition based on the pictures given to them, which is very similar to the format that they are familiar with in their classrooms. The images and topics are drawn from the BBC Earth magazine, and the students can utilize the themes from what they have read in the magazine and apply them in their writing. Moving on, we have our refining language section, whereby students focus on their vocabulary, grammar, as well as editing and reading comprehension skills. Here, we condense the articles in the magazine, which may be too out of depth for students, and summarize them in ways that are easier for them to understand. Finally, we have our science section, whereby we take complicated and complex scientific concepts and theories and apply them to relevant concepts or ideas that are suitable for their classroom syllabus, which highlights how their classroom concepts are applicable to the real outside world. Moving on, we're going to talk about the advanced worksheet, which is suitable for students aged 12 and above. For the advanced worksheet, we have 3 sections: writing, comprehension, and oral. In the writing section, students hone their editing ability as well as their research and writing skills. They are given a relevant essay question, as well as guiding research questions and sources to aid them in their independent learning. They are also given possible points that they can refer to when writing their essay, which is going to help them in their brainstorming process. Next up, we have the comprehension section, where we aim to target the various question types that are essential for students to learn. For example, vocabulary questions, literal questions, which are more direct and straightforward, and inferential questions, which require more reading between the lines. Finally, we have the oral section, whereby students can practice their speaking and reading aloud skills through the use of the audio feature that was mentioned earlier on. So using the content from the BBC Earth magazines, we have come up with a unique enrichment program catered to supplement students' needs. This reading program targets the 4 core skills of the English language: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Through this program, we aim to, firstly, introduce students to essential techniques for reading comprehension and essay writing. Secondly, familiarize students with essential foundational comprehension and editing skills with a keen focus on close reading and critical analysis. Thirdly, we wish to provide them additional assistance to build up their English language skills and their competencies in the English language. Fourth, we want to build up their confidence in sharing their ideas not just through writing, but in speaking as well. And finally, through this, we hope to instill a strong passion for learning in order to foster a positive growth mindset whereby they are more willing to learn independently and on their own. So a few topics that we cover in our enrichment programs. Firstly, strategies for narrative text and comprehension, such as understanding literary and figurative devices. Secondly, strategies for non-narrative text and comprehension, and how they can properly extract information that they need from the articles. How to properly analyze, understand, and then summarize data and information given to them. How they can write persuasively, and particularly how to fully utilize the examples from the articles to be convincing in their argumentative and expository writings. How do they craft strong arguments? Okay, and as well as more narrative forms of writing, such as what makes a good story. We have hybrid forms of writing, which combines different forms of writing. And finally, listening comprehension and oral communication skills. With our English reading program, we aim to provide students not just with the content that they need, but the concept behind their writing as well. For example, during our reading program sessions, we highlight concepts such as essay structure, and thus move on to show examples of how students can utilize these essay structures using examples and information from our magazine. We'll be using this question as an example. Do you agree that AI can replace artists and creatives? We start first by outlining what their essay should include. They start off with their introduction, which you can see from the screen should include their stance, which is whether they agree or disagree, and a list of 3 reasons why. After which, they move to their body paragraphs, whereby each body paragraph highlights one reason they agree or disagree with the statement. So this is an example of an introductory paragraph that we give to our students on whether or not AI can replace artists and creatives. We ensure that each paragraph is broken down and that the students are fully aware of each component of the paragraph. For example, the background information is in orange, the stance is highlighted in blue, and the roadmap is in green. This color coding also makes it easier for the students to follow the flow of information throughout their introduction. Similarly, for body paragraphs, we highlight the use of the peel structure in the reading program. So the points is in orange, the elaboration is in blue, examples and explanation in green, and the linking statement in purple. The highlighted example and explanation in green are examples that are discussed and can be found directly from the articles in the BBC Earth magazine. Thus, we fully teach our students how to closely utilize the magazine content to their very best advantage.
During the sessions, we strongly encourage students to participate using content from the magazine in in-class debates and discussions. This is one of the articles we have broken down and discussed recently from our November-December issue on artificial intelligence. This article explores the very big and broad concept of AI through various perspectives and lenses. For example, the article questions whether AI is out of control and what are some of the possible pitfalls as AI becomes more prominent. The article also asks whether AI will make us less smart as people grow more reliant on AI. Are we losing on certain skills such as key writing and reading? Can AI replace the role of musicians and artists? Is AI going to be capable of creating art that is as moving and as powerful as traditional art? Can we form meaningful relationships with AI, especially in the light of the COVID-19 lockdown, with many people isolating for weeks at a time? The article questions if AI is a possible alternative for people to turn to overcome the feelings of loneliness. And finally, not all bad. But the article also explores whether AI could help to provide possible solutions, especially for the ongoing climate crisis. AI is a tool which isn't necessarily bad or inherently harmful, but can be useful if used correctly or properly. AI is a big hot topic of discussion, especially in schools. Using the materials and contents from the BBC Earth magazine, what we have done is incorporate this question into the worksheet and our reading programs, not only to provide students with the content they need, but also teach them how to use this content during the actual process of writing. Before we go on, let me give you a glimpse of what goes on in an enrichment session.
So let's look at how to understand the bigger picture, right? So one thing that is very important is that you have to be able to understand what the main argument of each paragraph is. Okay, so what is the point, right? What's the gist of each paragraph, and also what's the overall gist of the entire article? Okay, and then we look at things like body paragraphs. So your body paragraphs is where you have your main argument. Okay, so this is really going to make up the bulk of your essay. Okay, so it's very important that it's well argued, and it's very important that each body paragraph follows the PO structure. So it's well organized and it flows well. Yes, very good. So to bell the cat means you are undertaking a very dangerous task, okay? So to get the lion's share means that you are getting the majority of something. Okay, so for example, if you're doing group work, you do most of the work. Say, oh, I did the lion's share of the work, right? So you are doing most of the work in the group work.
The BBC Earth editorial team also does complimentary assembly talks and panel discussions to schools on a variety of topics. For example, we have done assembly talks on topics ranging from environmental conservation to maintain good mental health and sleep, to even topics like fueling curiosity in an age of misinformation, which is a discussion hosted by our editorial-in-chief, Cheryl Tay, and the SAJC students. Our objective for these assembly talks is to spark the interest in reading non-fiction, so every talk we host is linked back to an article from the BBC Earth magazine, while also being customizable depending on the school's needs. We have the BBC Earth Challenge. The BBC Earth Challenge is an Asia Award competition which gathered students from across Asia and tested them on their general knowledge of science, history, and nature. A few more images from the BBC Earth Challenge from a few years back. Very happy and satisfied students. I have another video showcasing the events of BBC Earth Challenge back then. Engage with students from various
Thank you all for being here. Thank you students, thank you teachers, sponsors, and everyone from the Science Center as well. This is a challenge, yes, it's a competition, yes. You push your intelligence and you push who you are right now to become someone better. So have fun.
yourself a round of applause, come on! Well done!
Engaged with students from various schools throughout Singapore and Malaysia, we organized the Young Writer Championship for 2023. We have collected submissions of both fiction and non-fiction pieces, aligned with the 3 topics of our magazine, which are science, history, and nature. Throughout Singapore and Malaysia, we have received more than 1,000 submissions from students aged 8 to 13 years old, and we have selected and shortlisted our top 50 submissions. Here is a video of the award-winning ceremony hosted in Singapore National Library. These are a few of the books that were shortlisted during the Young Writer competition. That's all I have to share with you today. Once again, I'm Brenda, and I thank you for all your time and attention. Thank you.